You can hear me okay, Kevin, yeah?
Yeah, fine,
Oh,
yeah. No
okay.
worries at all, yeah.
Okay, I see we are now live. Ladies and gentlemen, while Kevin Maggs changes his lighting or whatever he was doing there, you are more than welcome to a one-off interview that we have. We're normally live on a Thursday and a Monday, but because of time constraints and job commitments, we had to get Kevin on this evening for a chat. He was he was on the list of people that we wanted to talk to. So Kevin Maggs, how the hell are you? Are you well in yourself?
I'm very good, Peter. Thanks for having me on.
Not at all. Not at all. Thank you for coming on. Listen, I have to ask you. I have to ask you. What did you think of the French game?
Well, I didn't actually see it live. I watched the first half, and then I was at a sevens tournament, so I got there early so I could watch the first half, and then the first game kicked off at 3. Ah, look, it's obviously disappointing. I think it was the best chance they probably had to do the 3 in a row. Um, but look, ultimately, I was disappointed for the 3 lads being their last home game in the Six Nations and their last chance to be at the Aviva with the outstanding contribution that they've given to Ireland in their provinces. For them not to go out, in the right way just feels wrong, And
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
felt
yeah.
I was devastated for them because I just wanted them to go out on a high, having such amazing careers.
Yeah. But and the other thing I wanted to ask you as well, well, there's a few things I want to ask you. Uh, the, do you think that like the 7-1 split, the 2-12s in the centre of the park, your position, do you think that was a bit? Did Easterby kind of overplay that, or what do you think went on there?
Um. Oh well, look, it, it's difficult, but at the end of the day, the 7-1 split from me shouldn't be allowed anyway. I don't personally believe. Um. Having 7 lads that can come on and then a back who's potentially the size of another back rower, you're essentially bringing on a whole new pack. And some of them 145 kilos plus. It's it's an awful lot to deal with when you're playing at a game such at high speed and such physicality and so highly under pressure as well. It's so difficult to cope with.
Mm. And come here, Kevin, your overall impression so far. Now I know we've got one game to go next weekend. Your overall impression of the Six Nations
Oh, look,
from an Irish point of view.
yeah,
Obviously.
look, I think you know we've we've won a triple crown. That's not something that we've done every other year or for a long time. I'm lucky you want. That's probably one of the highlights of one of the best things that I've managed to do is win a triple crown. Um,
Yes.
but some of these guys have achieved so much in their time in a green jersey that it's hard it's hard for me being on the outside and being so envious of it because they've had such an amazing time, but they've played like outstanding rugby as well doing it, I believe. And I think the
Yeah.
Six Nations is so special. It's the best rugby tournament in the world, and
Yes.
the best thing about it is anyone can beat anyone on their day. And that's just the reality of how intense and how such an integral part for me of rugby is that being aired live on the BBC and being available to everyone, because if it goes behind the paywall, it would just stop the support and the game growing, I believe.
I completely agree. Yes, absolutely. There's a comment there from a colleague of ours. He helps run this group, James Grennan. Evening, chaps. Delighted to see Kevin on the show. Massive fan. There you go. All right. And just before we go on to you, Kevin, it just popped into my head there when you were talking about players. Some of the lads that you played with.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a list here: Guy Easterby, Ronan O'Gara, Stringer, Tyrone Howe, Paul O'Connell, yourself, of course, Eric Miller, Simon Bess, a friend to the show, Shane Byrne. He's been on with us several times. Donegal Callan. Do you think that those lads, would you think they'd give the present team a run for their money?
It would be good, wouldn't it? It would be good to set up AI or something like that, and I'll let them go have it out with each other. It'd be pretty cool to do that, wouldn't it?
Well, now you see the centre of the park, your position 12 inside centre. That would be very interesting because you had Bod outside you. So if you're going up against Henshaw and Aki, or maybe Ringrose and Aki, that would be a great competition, I think.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to have practice, wouldn't it?
I think that'd be a great crack. Okay, yeah. Hold on.
I don't know how against Bundy though. I wouldn't want my nose probably bent like his at the minute, but fair play.
No, but I mean,
he's been outstanding. He's been outstanding.
He has been outstanding. But listen, as you were, Jesus, as you, I think actually the time I saw you play, Kevin, was the 2005 game, I think, if I remember correctly, against France. And Dominici, was it Dominici scored that try in the last few minutes? And there was a 7-point gap. I think it was 26-19 or something. Was that was I right in that?
Yeah, he didn't go around me though, did he?
No, he didn't. No. I remember the game. You were sucked in. I don't know I can't remember who he went around, but that was the game I saw. That was I think the only time I saw you play. Was that game 2005? And they wrecked. They wrecked our
ultimate games. Yeah, that.
The what?
So my last cap was Japan in 2005.
No, your last cap was in Japan. It was, yes, 2005. But your first cap, Kevin, my God, what a baptism of fire was 1997 against the All Blacks. How did you? How did that go down with you?
Like honestly, my first involvement with Ireland was the 1997 tour to New Zealand or Western Samoa. Yeah, so and that was one of the toughest tours I think lots of people maybe have ever been on. It was literally like a boot camp. We were literally training 2.5 hours in the morning, 2.5 hours in the afternoon. Then we were doing gym on the way home, and even the day before games, we were doing, like full on contact sessions and stuff like that. It was unreal. And to be able to have those experiences at that time with some absolute legendary guys that, God bless them. A couple of them are no longer with us now. People like Gary Halpin and Anthony Foley and and Tom Tierney, like it's just unbelievable. Like, and we managed to come out of it the other end. Like we were absolutely tranced by the New Zealand Academy, who had Jeff Wilson coming back from concussion, and it was the only game he could prove that he was fully fit before going back into the All Black squad. Like, he was just absolutely phenomenal. Like, he scored 5 tries against us that day. And then the following week, we're in Samoa and, we're watching him again line up for the full All Blacks team, scoring another 5 tries against Fiji. Just one of the great, one of the best players. and one of the most skillful players you'll ever see. That certainly from our perspective, we'd never seen
Yeah.
anything like him at that stage.
Yeah.
And then coming from that, unbelievably, then afterwards, I got called back into the November squad for the internationals, and then geez, I was on the bench, and it was just like it was petrifying for me because obviously I sort of come out of nowhere, gone on the development tour, like had a great time, met some great lads, and then to all of a sudden find yourself against some of the biggest names in world rugby for the last 10 or 15 years. You can't believe it.
Yeah.
And then I'm in a subsuit, and then Jonah Lomo's walking past me, and you see the size of him, you're like, Jesus, what the hell is going on? Like, where am I? Why am I
I'm
here?
not going near him. Type
Uh,
thing.
yeah, well, luckily for us, he wasn't playing on the day. But the other lads, Jeff Wilson, some of the other guys they had, Jeremiah, Zinzan Brook, some of the biggest names in
Great players. Yeah.
like legendary players, not just great players. They're, some of the biggest names, back in the day, unreal, So for me, it was unbelievable, but it was kind of like amplified on the day because we had, and like I've not actually seen John since then. I don't believe to properly talk to him about it, but Leinster winger John McWeeny would have got pulled in for the first game for his first test, and he was starting winger.
Yeah.
And he was emotional before the game. He was being sick before the game, and like because it meant so much to him, and he was just overawed by the whole occasion, and that probably amplified it for me as well to but I could see why he was like it because it meant so much to him. Coming
Mm.
from, I think he scored something crazy like 30 tries or something for St Mary's or something like that along those lines, and he was pulled in from straight into the squad in November because he never came on the summer tour, and I was just going backwards and forwards. They kept calling me down to warm up. Geez, then I was given the 10 minute. You're going on in 10 minutes, and then
Yeah.
Whelan giving out to me. This is what I've got to do, and this is what it means to be in a green jersey, and all that. So, geez, I was bricking it. Was an
I know, Kevin. I know John McWeeny. I met him a couple of times, but I know his brother Colin
yeah.
very well from a local pub that they ran where I was brought up.
Yeah.
But hold on, let's just have a look at some of the comments coming in here. Dave Sheedy, Big Bad Kevin Maggs, one of our best 12s ever. There you go, Kev.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you very much.
Well, you were now. In fairness, you were. I mean, you had this dynamism about you that you were a line breaker, and you were one of those players. You were like Brian O'Driscoll in that you were very difficult to tackle because you had a low center of gravity. You had a similar build, and so you were one of the best
Brian's
twelves.
Brian's not slimmer than me, is what you mean, yeah?
The what? Sorry, what?
Brian's not slimmer than me.
Matt Boland, another colleague of ours. Evening, Peter, Kevin. Pleasure to have you on the show. It is indeed, yes. Dave Sheedy, as Mags would know, defending after inside centre, you only have to tackle backs. Us 12s have to smash back rows as well. Okay. Len, with Kevin's scouting background, does he think with less central contracts is going to go? We'll come on to that, Len. We'll come on to that. But what I want to do is, Kevin, you had, I just, for people who don't know, I'd say they're in the minority. But for people who don't know,
Mm.
oh, by the way, you're 3 years and a day younger than me. There you go, Kevin. I just sort of pointed out to you. I was looking at your thing on Twitter. Obviously, you played for Ulster, you played for the Barbarians, you played for Bristol, you played for Bath, but you've had 70 appearances for Ireland. You've been involved with Rotherham, and you're director of rugby for Moseley Rugby.
Yeah.
What? It's a great career in itself, but what I'd like to know, when you move from club, Kevin,
Yeah.
does is the training regime, like when you go from Bristol to Bath to Ireland, how different is the training regime? Do you walk in and you go, oh, I've seen this before, oh, that's new, or is it a complete culture shock?
Yeah, like so. So when I first started playing rugby properly, I was at college, and I just sat down next to a guy called Derek Dimmock, who was in a Bristol Colts tracksuit, and it was it's fairly decent. He was a big lad, bigger than me. He was like 6'2", something like that, and I just said, "Oh, who'd you play for?" And he just said, "Oh, I play for Bristol Colts, like at the Memorial Stadium." And my mum still lives there, so she lives not far from the ground. So I knew instantly what it was, because I'd always read the sport in the Evening Post where in Bristol, and we became friends, and we were on the sports science course at college, and um, we got friends, and then we played in all the other sports and stuff like that. Then when the rugby came on, I played, and then his dad come up to me after the first game and he said, "Why don't you come down and play for us on a Sunday morning?" And I was like, "Well, oh geez, I'm not sure. Like it's the other side of town for me as well." So he's like, "Look, don't worry about that. I'll pick you up and bring you and take you home. We'd just love to have you come and play." And he kept on badgering me and badgering me, and in the end I just gave in. I said, "All right, look, I'll see how we get on for like a week or two, and we'll take it from there." And then straight away I loved it. They were a great bunch of guys for Imperial Rugby Football Club in Bristol, and I started playing for the under-17s on a Sunday morning, and then we got banned for fighting down in Western Hornets. And
How did you get? Hold on, whoa, back up. You got
yeah,
banned for fighting. Who started the fight? Was it you?
no, it wasn't. So unbelievably now, until this day, like no matter how many live boxing matches I've seen, this is the biggest punch I've ever seen, and it was by Derek, the lad that I sat next to the
Oh,
first day.
all right, okay.
So there was two lads scrapping away. One was, giving it the windmill and hoping for the best with his eyes shut. But
Yeah.
his dad Alan, God bless him, he's ran on to break the two lads up, but then he got hit by the lad from Western Hornets and hit him in the side of the face and knocked his glasses off. So Derek was full back at the time. Okay.
Yeah.
He runs 30 meters and hits this lad like square in the jaw.
Yeah.
And it was the loudest bang I've ever, and the biggest punch I've ever seen. This lad literally just went straight down after projectile vomiting loads of blood out of his mouth. Went straight down, straight over his ankles, and we all thought he was dead. Some of us thought he was dead. Like
Yeah. I
that's how
thought he
big
was
it
dead by
was.
your description.
That's how big it was. And if he did it now, he'd probably get 15 years in jail.
He probably.
I think he got banned for back then in '91. I think it was like he got 3 months ban, and we were banned as a team then for the rest of the season. And then
He's only got a ban for the rest of the season.
yeah, the team did.
Team did. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and then that was really how it started. So Alan, Derek's dad, he was like the coach and stuff. So he was like, "Oh, why are you so upset?" He said, "Like you can still play." And I was like, yeah, but who am I going to play for?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can play for the men on a Saturday. And I was like,
Oh,
what? I was like, but he's like, yeah, you're only 17, but as long as your mum and dad say you can play, you could be signed off to play men's rugby.
yeah, yeah,
So I was like, no way. I couldn't believe it. But at that stage, I was hooked. And this is only like 8 games in. So so then I started playing for the thirds. Then I was in the seconds, and then I was being asked to go on tour with the first team, and it was like great fun, but it was social rugby, and that's what I've been brought up on. Is I was brought up in the amateur era and experienced, so I was lucky enough to experience that. And then, when the game turned pro in '96, then, I didn't even think twice about wanting to be
yeah,
a full
yeah.
professional at that
But
stage.
the thing about you, though, uh, Kevin, the thing about you now, I found this interesting. I didn't actually know this,
Yeah,
but the way you ended up playing for Ireland was a conversation that Brian Ashton had with Dave about David Corkery, with the player manager at the time, who
yeah.
was Ralph Nibbs, where you were playing, and they discovered that you had a grandmother, was it, from
No,
Limerick?
my
Your
grandfather.
grandfather from Limerick,
Yeah,
yeah. But
prior
is that
to that,
correct? Is that right?
yeah, but prior to that, I'd sent a shoebox with videos in,
Oh,
with a letter to the union declaring that I wanted to play for Ireland. Um, and and then it was only really by chance then. I think it was that year then in '97. Was it '97? I think they got rid of Murray Kidd from
it
the
was 90. That was 97. Yeah,
yeah. So they got
yeah,
rid
I
of
knew
Murray
it. Yeah,
Kidd, and then they signed Brian Ashton then, until the 2003 World Cup.
yeah,
So he was going around seeing all the players that qualify for Ireland in the UK. So Paul Burke, David Corkery, Barry McConnell, those lads, to see whether they were going to go on the development tour to New Zealand,
yeah,
or they were going to be in the November international squad. Um, so he just happened to be sitting next to Ralph at the time, and he was chatting about Paul Burke and David Corkery and how have they gone this season, and he's like, "You do know that Kevin Maggs wants to play for Ireland and is Irish qualified." Um, so this was on the Saturday. On the Tuesday, I was put on standby and had to prove all my paperwork and stuff that I was Irish qualified, like genuinely Irish qualified. And then on the Friday, I found out I was going to New Zealand on the Sunday for 5 weeks.
yeah.
So it's mad how quick it is just turned around in all of a sudden. But
Well, come
like,
here, before we go into to what Len has asked you there about the daily workings of what you do at the moment for the IRFU.
yeah,
What what is the story I read that when you were in? I was at Bristol, I think you were in,
yeah.
and you just so happened to check your bank account. What's that story?
So that would have been, well, that would lead you into the other question, really, in a way, because I'd
But
come back.
you know the story I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That
you
has been
were
well documented. That
about the
you checked your
contract.
bank account
Yeah,
and you hadn't been paid or something.
yeah, so I just before, so in 90, so in 98, I would have signed a new deal to stay at Bristol,
Yeah,
for another 2 years. So I'd been approached by the IRFU at that point, and You know, I had like 5 or 6 Premiership teams like come in for me as well, and um, you know, I ended up staying in Bristol because, you know, ultimately I'd been the Colts captain at under 19s, and I'd ended up becoming the Bristol under 21s captain as well. And
Yeah,
ultimately, I wanted to be the first team captain, and that was one of my ambitions, to be, you know, captain of, you know, my hometown club, and kind of go from there. But I'd gone away then. Once I'd signed that, then I'd gone away to South Africa in '98, and we were there for 5 weeks, like we did back then, and play provincial games and then tests, and come home. And when I come back, you know, I'd check my bank account, and I'm like, oh right, I haven't been paid. And then so I went into the club on the Monday. Didn't get back till the Sunday. Went in on the Monday. You know, I hadn't been paid. You know, the chief executive at the time had been drinking, and all this sort of stuff. I won't mention any names, but
no, say nothing, say nothing.
and like, he's basically said, like, you're not going to get paid. The receivers have been called in. You know, the club's going through the hoop, and that was when, you know, they lost the whole memorial ground, and everything like that. And, you know, so I was straight on, but they, you know, they signed me knowing that they were going to go through the hoop, basically. So it was, you know, a desperate situation for me at that time, having turned all those other opportunities down, and, you know, they might not be there. But luckily for me, you know, Bath, the Bath coach then, he was Andy Robinson.
Yeah,
Um, I'd seen the test against South Africa and Bloemfontein, which is well documented now for being one of the dirtiest games you're ever likely to see in
yes,
history of the game. I'd say if they had 4 camera angles like they did now, there'd be nobody left on the field, I'd say.
yes, that is very
Um,
true, Kevin. You're quite right. It brings back memories. I only watched that game. It's probably 2 3 weeks ago at this stage. But do you remember? And you probably will. The French. I think he was on Uncle side. Jean Pierre Reeves and the bloody face.
yeah,
Do you remember that?
yeah.
That particular game. That game that you described reminded me a bit like that. That was savage. That was absolutely savage.
It
Jesus
was
Christ.
honestly,
Okay.
it was one of the. I can honestly say it was the most hostile environment at the time that I'd ever been
Yeah.
in. Like, it was unreal, just from the minute that we get to the game, and, you know, they said the gate were going to be open, and, you know, the fans
Jesus
were
Christ.
all hitting our bus with sticks and all sorts. It was unreal. And then, you know, to top it all off, I go and leave my jersey then back at the hotel,
Oh, good
like
man.
in
Yeah.
uh,
Wise.
it's like, you know, just you just couldn't write it. And like, I literally was saved by Rala because, you know, he'd only just got the midweek kit back. So I wore the 13 jersey from the midweek team that had just been washed in the test team,
Oh,
and nobody could see. And then, you know, we laugh about it now, but then Mark McCall was like, they were called me Mark McCall and him Kevin Maggs.
oh, okay, Mag. Yeah,
It
Kevin
was
Mag.
like,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we,
yeah,
we,
yeah,
had, we had a good laugh here. But really, being in that game, and being in that environment, you know, that game, with everything that went on in that game, you know, that changed my life because, you know, from where I was at the time at Bristol, you know, I could see within that first week of me being at Bath training, you know, why they've been beating Bristol for the last 10 or 15 years, because they were streets ahead of where Bristol were at the time in terms of player development, skill development, you know, physical development, you know, all that stuff. And they just went at the ethos of around the way they wanted to play the game. keeping the ball alive, moving it to space, being physical, being direct, getting go forward, but playing a high tempo game, moving the ball to space, and
Yeah.
just everyone not really having a number on their back was just incredible to be a part of. And
Yeah.
you know, I watched some of the old stuff back now that I've managed to keep, um, from the late 90s and the early 2000s. That some of the rugby we played was unreal, and for me, it was the right move for me at the time, because I turned down to come to Ireland to go to Bath, because I felt that there's so much international experience there with the players that were there, not only the England players, but people like Ian Evans and rugby league guys and stuff like that. That it was the best place for me to develop as a player. Um, and I think without that move, um, I wouldn't have gone on to continue to play for Ireland. I don't think. I think it
Okay.
was a move for me in my whole career, really, to be honest.
What was it like? What was it like playing for the Barbarians?
Ah, honestly, like
Is it just mad? Is it just kind of the instructions? Just go and throw the
yeah,
ball around,
it's
lads.
look, it's just unbelievable, because you go up against these guys, and some of them you would have had you know fisticuffs with. Sometimes you'd have had rows with them on the field, and you'd have a few handbags with a few of them and stuff. But then when you meet on the Barbarians, it's just, you understand why you're there. You know what the club being in the Barbarians is all about, and it's just what rugby is built on. Having that uh, camaraderie with the lads from all over, just celebrating the game, wanting to play well and throw the ball around, having a great time off the field as well, which we did.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I won't go too much into that, but
No,
like,
don't. No, no, please don't.
we,
Please
you
don't.
know, we we genuinely were there, and we had a great time off the field, and you know, honestly, like, but also to be alongside those lads, like, for me, one of the best games I'd ever been in, um, was for the Barbarians against Scotland, where I was outside centre. We had Jordan Murphy at full back.
What were you doing at outside centre when you're inside centre?
Yeah, well, so Pat Howard wanted to play. So Pat Howard, the Australia centre, wanted to play 12 more so than I did. So
Oh, I see. Right.
we
Okay. Okay.
we wanted to just mix and match, like I always did with most of the centres I played with anyway. We just moved around to just move the point of attack, and so on certain ones I would be 12, he would be 13, and on others I would be 13, he would be 12. But to look to line up against, with the likes of Joeli Vidiri, Jonah Lomu,
Yeah.
Percy Bromley, Hughes van der Vestes, and being the same
Brilliant.
back with those guys was just an unbelievable pinch yourself moment that you just never forget. And that game, Jonah Lomu's manager at the time, God bless them both, was like, "You're the best centre he's ever played with," because I just threw the ball to him, and because I was open, that Jonah would take about 6 or 7
Throw
lads
the
out,
ball and run away, Kevin. Throw the ball and run
and then
away.
they'll offload to me, and I'll be able to put the ball down. So I just threw the ball to Jonah every time I got it, to just give him the ball, and like, he scored, like, unbelievable. Like, if you watch the game, I was just in awe of him for the whole 2 weeks I was there,
Yeah. Yeah.
because he changed the face of the game, and he was the first superstar, world superstar of the game, and without him, I don't think it would be where it probably is now. But in that game, he was unbelievable. Like, so he scored a hat trick in 8 minutes against the full Scotland team, and
Yeah.
I got the ball like 5 meters out from my own post. I just threw it to Jonah. He burnt everyone.
Yeah.
Then the next one, he went from inside our 10-meter line, gone again. Went
Yeah.
through about 6 or 7 of them and went round the rest of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the
Yeah.
next one, he's gone in from the halfway line then, and like they would have had a New Zealander fullback at the time, Scotland, called Cameron Mather, and
Yeah.
he like literally sledded him in from like 10 meters until he fell out of his
Well,
shorts.
I tell you now. I tell you now. One of my no, I know. One of my favorite John Alone moments was who was the English fullback he ran over just to
My
destroy?
cat,
My cat. My
coach,
cat.
yeah.
I thought that was fantastic. No. Anyway, Ewan, there you go. Memories. And Yus van der Westhuizen, I thought he was one of the best scrum halves I've ever seen play the game.
Oh yeah,
He really was. Do you remember Kevin? Do you remember the famous tackle used on Lomu? I think it
yeah.
was the World Cup. I can't remember what year it was. Anyway, that was it. There was a famous photograph.
Yeah, it's just great to to be in the same environment with those guys.
Yes.
For me at the time, it was like I couldn't believe it. Because they were some of the biggest names in world rugby, and to be alongside them for the Barbarians, having beers with them, and going out for food, and playing golf and doing clay pigeon shooting and all that sort of stuff, just having great crack off the field was just it's just such a highlight for lads to be involved in like that. It really is what the game is all about, really. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes, we forget that.
Yes. Very, very much so. Yes. Um, I could talk to you all night, Kevin. Anyway, we move on. Your current position with the IRFU, the IQ Rugby Talent Coach, basically, you are there to support Irish talent that is overseas. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. One of our viewers, Len, he said. There's the question there. You can see it. With Kevin's scouting background, does he think with less central contracts, it is getting harder to attract IQ players to Ireland? Kevin, I'll give that to you.
Um, no, I don't think so. I think it's finding the right ones, and also there being an opportunity for those guys as well. Look, I think I think the model it is there for all to be seen. We're very everyone else in world rugby is very envious of the system now, how it works. And we try and help facilitate that from. So our job is to identify and support Irish qualified players that are playing in schools and clubs and academies here in the UK, to try and give them the opportunity to try and play in a green jersey. And that is, for male and female athletes to play in the underage program. So under 18s, under 19s, under 20s, 15s or 7s. And, probably one of my lads, well, a couple of my lads now have made their senior debuts for Ulster in Lorcan McLaughlin, and then Connor in Che Mullins.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
Henry Walker is another one of my players who's currently with Ireland under 20s the last 2 years. So he's played a year young as well. And, but probably the highest one, I think Che Mullins would have probably played for Ireland Day the other week if he didn't get injured playing for Connacht. He's already been on two senior development tours to South Africa where they've been unbeaten. He's become an Olympian as a result of being involved with the Ireland Sevens program, and he's won seven or eight World Series medals now, I think, in a
Yeah.
bronze
Yeah.
at the Rugby Sevens World Cup. So, you know, it shows it's working. You know, we had 4 guys play for Ireland under 18s at the end of October against Italy. You know, we got 2 or 3 lads involved with the 20s, and you know, hopefully we'll get a couple involved with Ireland under 19s as well during the 3 tests that they've got coming up as well. So, you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's working, and we're adding to, you know, we're adding to the calls, and but ultimately,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we are giving these lads the opportunity to put on a green jersey and be part of, you know, the provinces, and hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, in a year or two we might see one of these guys actually come all the way through the program and and be capped as a senior Ireland international, which would be amazing for us and the program.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely, Kevin. Yes. There's a comment in there from Johan. Kevin Maggs was a beast, teak, tough, crash ball. There you are, Kevin. That was you. You wear that is you, Kevin. That is you, straight up. That is you. You wear that guy. James Grennan, who is Connacht's #1 fan and a colleague of ours here as well. He works behind the scenes with the rest of us. We are delighted to have Shay Mullins playing for us. Thanks, Kevin, for facilitating this. There you go. No. But
Well, not
come here.
me, yeah.
Sorry, go on, Kevin. Go on.
Not just me, but yeah, I'm the IQ team. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Now, I want to. I said I wouldn't keep you long, about half an hour to quarters of an hour. We're at 42 minutes. As I said, I could talk to you for hours. I want to ask you about the 1999. You played 2 World Cups,
Yeah.
1999 World Cup and the 2003 World Cup. The 19. Okay, first of all, which one is your preference, 99 or 2003?
Oh, 2003 was just an unbelievable experience all round, really. Whereas, you know, the difference in '99 is we never even went to Wales. You know, we played our home games in Lansdowne Road, and then, you know, we ended up having to play like Argentina and Lons, which and I'm not making excuses here. I'm really not. But
Go on.
if you would have if you would have seen the hotel and the food that we had, like, you would not believe the prep that we had for that game. It was unreal. Like,
Why? What was it? What was it? No. You can't just say that. Why? What was wrong with it?
the
It was just shite, or what?
yeah, like, so, like, you know, the night before it was like pizzas which had like this funny kind of like mincemeat stuff on it, which looked like it wasn't even cooked anyway. And then we had these, like, they looked like, I suppose it was like almost like minute steaks, but they were like swimming in blood, and it looked like it was horrendous. Like, the fact the
Oh.
lads, you know, the majority of the lads wouldn't even go anywhere near it. Like, so we literally we're in the middle of nowhere trying to find somewhere to eat, like, and the
Well,
prep.
hold on, Kevin. Who authorised that? Who's responsible for that?
Well, God knows, I don't know. It would have been whoever the organisers were in France, I suppose. I've no idea. And, like, I'm not blaming anyone, but, like, you know, when you look back at it now, you know, the prep we had going to France and then leading into that game was horrendous. Like, it really was. And you know, look, you know, we should have won the game. Really, we had opportunities to, but we didn't. And yeah, the difference between the two was just chalk and cheese. You know, we didn't even go to Wales at all, and yet it was meant to be in Wales. And then we ended up playing in France. Whereas with Australia, we had a big welcome meeting. You know, we met all their indigenous animals, and, you know, it really was just an unbelievably super organized event, which made you feel a part of the whole experience. Whereas the 1999 one was really just horrendous from start to finish, because obviously we never qualified, and then we had to qualify for Australia, so we had to go to places like Krasnoyarsk in
So
Siberia.
I'll tell you what you're basically saying is the 1999 Rugby World Cup was, excuse me, but I'm used to this, was fucking shite, right? And the 2000, no, I'm not going to let you say it because I know, I'll say it for you. So the 2003 Rugby World Cup was a far better experience. And Kevin, for Christ's sake, we lost to Australia by a point.
Oh, I know, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, we should. We had opportunities, and we would have
Yes,
got
we did.
Scotland. And it's a lot like, Saturday kind of reminded me of that in some ways. We even in 2003. If we beat Australia that day, and we had opportunities too,
Yes, we did.
we would have played Scotland in the quarterfinal, and then we would have probably got the All Blacks in the semi. And we ended up getting France. We knew what they were going to do. We analysed them. We, we'd been through it. We had a plan, and then on the day, the first half anyway, we didn't turn up, and the game the game was done by half time.
Yeah.
And like, like I remember I got slagged at the time because, like, I scored a try in the game, and they said, like, why didn't I celebrate? And I'm like, why didn't I celebrate? We were 35-0 down. What do you expect me to do? You expect me
What are
to,
you
like,
celebrating? Yeah, I
you,
know.
you
Yeah, yeah,
expect me to take my shirt off and throw it into the crowd? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're 35
yeah,
nil down,
yeah,
for God's sake. What am I supposed to do?
yeah,
Like, I like, which, look, we won the second half, but I think we were just, I don't know whether we were all overawed with the occasion of it, or not, or, but to be fair to France, when they hit full swing, they're so impressive. And they were that day, and we had no answer to it. But then, when as these lads have shown before, when you've got a full team on the field, and they're full metal, they can beat anyone. And the worst thing for me was, watching that first half. You go, oh, they've been held up over the line in the first few minutes, 5 minutes, and then Sam hits the post, and then you're thinking, Jesus, this just, all of a sudden the doubt creeps in, because
yes,
you
yes,
should be you should be 10-0 up, and we're so used to seeing Ireland come out the blocks, you
yep,
know, unbelievably fast, and get off to a great start, and be in the lead and being in control early doors, to then being, geez, that's a 10-point swing right there. How does that? And then, I know they've done it so many times before, but at that level, with that intensity, with that physicality, and to only have 13, 14 men on at any one time
yeah,
makes
yeah, yeah.
makes it even
I,
tougher than it is normally.
Kevin, let me ask you. I'll tell you what we do. We make an agreement. We're at 49 minutes. We take it to an hour. If you're okay with an hour,
Yeah,
we'll take it to an hour. Is that okay?
no,
All right. Okay. Because I said I'd only keep you half an hour, 45
I
minutes.
know
All
you're
right.
good. You're good.
All right. What about, let me ask you then about, now we had Reggie Corrigan on last week, a gentleman that you are very familiar with.
Yeah.
Reggie's a great guy. He's a great guest, as you are. And I asked Reggie about this because this pops up in the groups that we run,
Yeah.
the supporters groups, about IRFU bias towards Leinster players. Please give me your definitive on that. What are your thoughts on that? That people say the IRFU are biased towards Leinster players. I keep saying it's not true. it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, you have to put it in context in the fact that it's where the biggest population is. It's where probably a lot of the wealth is as well. But ultimately, the Leinster as a whole are, certainly the schools are producing those players that are, feeding the underage teams and everything else, and then feeding the Leinster teams, and then they're involved. So I don't think that it's any more biased to any one province than any of the others. They're all there in their own right. They've got their own sponsors, they've got their own benefactors, and everything like that. So I don't think they're biased towards them now.
Okay. One of the points that Reggie made was the point that Ulster, in the past two games, I think our colleague James Grennan, or not James Grennan, Mike Reedy pointed out, Ulster have had no players in the last two games on that squad. What's gone wrong? What's gone wrong in Ulster, according to you? Now you played for Ulster, so give us the inside track.
Yeah, I think it's all about when you look at it. I think it's all about the what is coming through. So it's about you know Dublin is unique in the fact that they've so many schools that run programs, and they're so competitive, and all these lads, they want to be a Leinster player before they want to be an Ireland player, some of them. And you know that is okay, but ultimately they're gonna feel that. Whereas some of the other provinces, they just don't have that luxury of the schools having programs and facilities and everything like that for all the player development and the stuff coming through. So I think it will get better. But until it's like schools here in England. Some of the schools, some of the players get so much opportunity, um, because they run proper programs and they're doing rugby all the time rather than just playing for their club once a week and then just playing again on a Sunday. They're having genuine input and development throughout the week, and they're in competitive environments. And I think that's the key to it. Is
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's not you know my little Johnny takes part so he gets a medal anyway. They're all trying to beat each other's scores, doing Broncos and doing gym tests and jump tests and speed tests, and so you've got that competition between the schools, and that's just for the junior cup and the senior cup, without even before they even get to the Leinster teams.
but there was a point. I thought it was a very good point that was raised by Reggie,
Yeah,
that the schools in Leinster, Dublin, or whatever you want to, but in Leinster in particular, their school system is a lot of them are professional setups. They're,
yeah. I
as the
think
players leave. Is that the same in the UK or where you are?
some of them are, yeah. So some of them are. So they would be the eighth league equivalent of that. So they would all school together and train together and do S&C and skills and all that sort of stuff together. Yeah, that would be the case. Yeah, but I think the whole, it's very much unique in Leinster to have so many of them in such a space.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I think what, they're all within 45 minutes of each other in and they're all in
yeah.
competition to win, the stuff. And whereas here in the UK they're so much spread out, and there are different ones in different areas that are all competing with others to even get in the different Premiership teams. So I would say it's not as comprehensive as what is going on at Leinster at the moment.
All right. Okay. Just a couple of comments there, Kevin. Adam Keeler, the school system in Leinster is the reason they get so many Ireland caliber players. I believe that those systems in other provinces needs to be improved upon to keep up with Leinster. I think that's what we were just talking
Yeah,
about there.
I think it's dead right.
And another one, Adam Keeler again. Is this also a private versus public school debate? Look, as Reggie Corrigan said last week, it comes down to money. And Reggie was talking, Kevin, Reggie was talking about the great clubs up in Ulster, in Stonians. He was talking about the great clubs that kind of have waned away in Munster, the likes of Shannon, Garryowen, and stuff like that. That was the conversation we were having last week about this, you know. Okay. Kevin, I tell you what, I have no other questions to ask you. But sorry, I do, but I don't want to keep you. We're approaching the hour mark. No, because I have to go and walk my dog. It's the only thing. I thought I'd be only with you for half an hour, 45 minutes. We're now approaching an hour. But listen, we would gladly love to have you on. Now, I know you do your thing on Thursday, hence this is why we're doing this tonight. But we would love to have you on the Thursday show at some stage. If you're ever free on the Thursday, let me know because we would love to have you on, which is where we have a much broader debate about all things rugby and games and all that sort of stuff. And we would love to have you on. But listen, for tonight, Kevin, I have to thank you. You've been an absolute gentleman. It's taken several phone calls to get us here, but it's been brilliant. Not at all. No. I've enjoyed it. I've genuinely, I've really enjoyed chatting with you. You're a gentleman, and look, thank you. And we'll be in touch again, and we'll get you on the Thursday night show. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Listen, Peter. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for listening.
Not at all, Kevin. Not at all. It's been our pleasure. Thanks, Kevin. Good night. Enjoy.
Cheers.
Take care.